So Robert Saleh has been in the news this past week. He's been linked to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and also more recently, he has an interview lined up with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I've been very critical of Robert Saleh when he was the coach of the New York Jets, especially with how he handled the whole Zach Wilson catastrophe. I really felt like he misplayed his hand there. A lot of drama and a lot of unnecessary noise. I get it. It's the New York media. It's ruthless out there. It's brutal. But I just felt like he really lost the locker room a few times when he was the Jets head coach. But besides that, great defensive minded head coach. And that's why he got that job originally with the Jets. He was an excellent defensive coordinator for the Niners under Kyle Shanahan. And even when he got fired this past year from the Jets, that Jets defense significantly went downhill with Jeff Ulbrich. Saleh's coaching, his impact on the team is definitely a real one defensively. And all things considered, the Jets are the Jets. And I still feel like there's some sort of curse there. And he did have some level of success with Zach Wilson, and that in itself is quite impressive in my opinion. So I definitely want to see Saleh get a second chance. After he was fired from the Jets, he took a job with the Green Bay Packers in an offensive coach position. Now, between those two teams, I would definitely rather Robert Saleh go to the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm going to tell you why right now. For the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, I really feel like they need to hire a young, offensive-minded head coach. Not to say that Robert Saleh can't coach an offense. I just feel like they need to hire a guy that would really be tailored to more or less save Trevor Lawrence's career. Even Trevor Lawrence was asked about it today, actually, and he said, quote, "I hope we hire a young offensive coach." So even Trevor Lawrence doesn't want Robert Saleh down there in Jacksonville. And I don't know. I'm not a big Trevor Lawrence fan. I don't hate the guy. He seems like a decent dude. But for him to even be saying that quote, I don't know where he said that quote, to be honest. I'm not sure if it's taken out of context or whatever. But that dude has done absolutely nothing in this league to demand a thing. He is essentially stealing millions from the Jaguars, in my opinion. And for him to command anything, that's a whole other topic. And just for the state of that Jags team, they invested everything into Trevor Lawrence. It's not a defensively strong team. Their identity is Trevor Lawrence. So whether you hate him or love him, the ship is either going to strive or go down with Trevor Lawrence. So they need to assist him as much as possible. So it is definitely in their best interest to get an offensive-minded guy there, an offensive coordinator. You know, if it's not Ben Johnson, maybe Liam Cohen, maybe Joe Brady. I can definitely see those being potential fits. Will they be successful down there? If I had to bet on it, probably not. But at the end of the day, nobody really knows until you know. So we'll see what happens with the Jags and Trevor Lawrence. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, I think the fact that Saleh was the head man in New York with all the extra media attention and just being in New York would definitely have him prepared to take on Jerry Jones and the media attention the Cowboys get on a daily basis. So I definitely think he'll be prepared from that perspective. And I think that's important. I think it's good to hire a guy that's kind of used to the spotlight and the pressure compared to hiring an offensive coordinator that's never been a head coach before or that's been in a smaller market. So I think Saleh is definitely qualified from that perspective, and I feel like it doesn't really hurt to have a defensive-minded guy there. No, Dak Prescott is the highest paid player in NFL history, and he's obviously, quote unquote, the franchise QB of the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys need a culture reset. The Cowboys need some toughness. The Cowboys need to go back to that kind of Super Bowl era in the 90s. Those defenses were pretty legendary, man. And hypothetically, if you hire Robert Saleh, your defense is probably going to be significantly better. And I'm not a big Dak Prescott fan, but Dak Prescott is pretty legit in the regular season. Just pair him with CeeDee Lamb with a clean bill of health. You should be able to pick up at least 8 wins. And hypothetically, if they add Robert Saleh, puts together a top 5, top 10 defense at least, that's just a clear recipe for a playoff berth. What they do in the playoffs, I have no idea. We'll have to wait and see. But honestly, if I was a Cowboys fan, I would definitely be okay with Robert Saleh taking the helm in 2025. Absolutely. You know, seems like a pretty cool guy as well, pretty likable. Again, not the cleanest time in New York, but I believe in second chances, and I would definitely be rooting for him. I think it'd be a good story, man. You let me know if you agree with me, and are you a fan of Robert Saleh? Let me know in the comments below. And if it's not either of those two teams, hypothetically, I think the Raiders would also be a good fit. If the Raiders had a young QB on the roster right now, then of course, especially with Tom Brady being more involved this upcoming offseason, I would definitely be leaning towards the Raiders hiring an offensive minded guy, but they don't have a quarterback right now, so you might as well hire a culture guy, defensive minded guy in Saleh. I think that would also be another good landing spot for Saleh. We'll have to see what happens. Ben Johnson has reportedly been linked to the Raiders, and there has been momentum building with Ben Johnson and the Raiders, so that could potentially be very big for that franchise. I know Ben Johnson hasn't had any head coaching experience yet, so if you're one of those people that are not really buying Ben Johnson as like a home run hire, I totally get it. But I'm telling you, this dude is an offensive genius, and if Brady approves of him, I just think that's another great cosign, and I just think it'd be a great thing for the Raiders. But it should be a pretty fascinating, fun off season. What will Jerry Jones do? What will Trevor Lawrence demand? Where will Robert Saleh end up? You let me know your predictions down below. If you made this far, please subscribe and like the vid. It'd help out your boy a ton. That's all I got for right now. Peace.
See this all the time from this guy, so it's when you're going to learn. I guess when you pile up enough losses, you'll finally say, hey, I want to win a game, I'm going to manage it differently, and in those situations you should punt.
Okay, if you were playing the game right now, what would you have done with that last possession?
I absolutely would have punted it without question. Jim, when you're down multiple scores in the second half, you're looking for the little things to get momentum on your side. So just get a first down. Don't look for the big plays. That was a good job by the offense that time.
Looking across the middle. Looking middle that time. And it's incomplete.
Well, your teammates are really going to respect you after something like this. Anytime you're on that field as an athlete, and when you give all your effort to every single play like that time, how about that? Just giving every bit of effort he can to make the catch. Not able to get it. What a job and effort.
They'll hike it to him out of the shotgun. The ball is jarred loose.
Well, I think it's important for the defense. Anytime it's a third and long situation for the offense, to know where those first down markers are, give a little ground, and make sure you're able to come up and make the tackle short of the first down marker.
He's brought down. That's going to bring up fourth down. The Jets believe they can pick up the first in this short yardage situation and keep the offense on the field.
Quarterback likes what he sees out there outside. He's changing the play with the wide receiver.
Bilal Powell makes the catch. Powell's tackled down at the 38. First down here. Let's see how they back up the big play here. Snapping out of the gun. He'll throw it over the middle. Amaro with the reception.